Good morning. Oh, how's it going? How's it going, guys? Good to see you. I am pretty unkempt today. Late night. Menage a trois last night. It was pretty intense. Oh, God. So many women. So long. 3-hour session. 3 hours and 11 minutes. 3 hours and 22 minutes. Session. Ugh. Rough one, man. I'm not as young as I used to be. My whipper is not snappering as much. It was great time last night. I hope you guys caught the show. There's shit all over my desk. Great. I hope you caught the show last night. If you're like, what are you talking about? Rose 777 had me on, and we discussed the nature and hyperbole of high rituals. It's good talk. It's good talk. Yeah. So if you missed that, there's probably a link somewhere, and maybe someone will even put that in there for you, because I don't have it like right here. But look at us. We are back. We have a James Shrew channel. This is. I wonder if any of you found me on the new YouTube channel, and you didn't even know that I had this other channel. That's possible. In fact, I think I saw Jane, and I'm under the impression Jane, I haven't seen her in a while. I bet you that Jane doesn't even know that we've been streaming on the second channel. I could be wrong about that, but I get the feeling that's the case. And so now I'm wondering, well, shit, are we now excluding the people that joined on the new channel? So I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to stream or how to stream or what to do. But it was a good talk last night, and that wasn't even on this channel. It was on Rose's. I'm going to try and understand just what James is talking about yet again. John, I think that the issue you're having is that you're expecting there to be this like flow, like all the time or consistently. And look around. Look at the nuts in the chat with you. Come on. Look at some of these icons. We've got a caterpillar with a French mustache. We've got a bunch of people with fire in their thing. Obviously, Satanists. Look around. You need to understand your company, John. You're expecting way too much out of us. Yes, I knew and try to keep up with you, James. Oh, good, Jane. Still, it's hard to imagine how many we've missed. And the entire time, I never know which one's going to be on the next day. You just don't. James Chew Live is not monetized, by the way, so all of those episodes that we've been doing have been exclusively sponsored by ROKFIN and my patrons. It's the only way they'd be happening. It's the only way. Only way. Well, Sarcastic helps. He's here, too. Rose 777 is blocked in South Africa. And Rose 777 is not available in UK. That's interesting. That is more data, isn't it? I would have thought it would have been like Germany. Even the name. Quick shout out here to Brett Morgan. James A. reinstated the Satan mask mandate at the office in South Jersey, and I immediately quit. Feels amazing. Boss called and asked me to come back the next day. That is awesome, Brett. Making it expensive, putting them to the test, and they had no choice. It's great. This is fantastic. I'm long retired and don't know what I would have done if I needed the job, but I've gotten placed in the corner of the doctor's office, though, and kicked out of the grocery store. Okay, that was a different person, but yeah. You guys, this is the battle. This is the war. And it happens in your life. It doesn't happen in anyone else's life. It only happens in yours. And you have to decide which battles are worthy of your calories, right? Which ones you can afford. I'm not asking you to die in a dramatic heap. I want you to survive. I want you to live. I want you to plan your battles accordingly. You know, when Amuraka was being infiltrated by Watiko, the Watikans landed here and were trying to fight in conventional ways. We're trying to fight civilized. And the irony of there is that there's nothing civilized about what you're doing, so why are you trying to fight that way? And that stuff just doesn't work. It doesn't. It's more for virtue signaling. I want you to win. I don't want you to signal. I want you to win. I want you to have victories every day. I want your 40%. You heard me say this, right? I don't want your 100%. If you gave me a group of people that wanted to give 100%, I would say that you have automatons that are willing to drain themselves completely for you, and that's not really the best kind of army you want. You want 40%ers. You want people that are like, I am serious about this. I've got serious passion about this issue. I'm going to throw down 40% of my resources. Why 40%? Because 60% is required for your sovereignty. And if you lose your sovereignty, you've already lost the battle. You've already lost it. The moment you give up that sovereignty, the moment you fall into the prayful eyes of those around you who want to turn this into something different. This year, every day, right? Every day, it's another opportunity to either make things expensive or make things affordable for those around you. I can give 33%. If you can give 33%, do it, Moth, because your 33 is easily a 40%. Rose played 9 remaining video towards the end of stream that got a copyright. Yes, that's probably it. You know, it's weird because right before she played that, I said, I have a bad feeling about this. And that's exactly what happened. And so I think the whole stream got stopped because of that. But it was still good. It was still good. Yes, 60 on yourself, 40 on others. That's what I mean. 40% on others. If you maintain that 60%, you're going to have, not only are you going to be more intimidating, you are, it's actually much more powerful to bring 40% to something than 100%. Because when the person senses the 40%, they actually sense, holy shit, this guy didn't even think he needed to give 100%. There's a big confidence that comes with that would really, it's really broadcast as different people see it, for sure. Absolutely. So, yeah. So pick your percentage. Make sure it's less than majority. Spend that majority on your stance, on your posture, and you will do fine. Just don't pick up a bear nickname and start talking about sodomy in the woods. I know whenever my name comes up over there, there's always this proof because all these bears come over and start leaving comments. It's like clockwork. And yeah, the genital Martys too. I think that was really cute. It's like this sign that somebody loves us. Speaking of which, the YouTube strike is gone. We only have one more strike now, and that strike is for... that strike has been here for an entire year. I don't know why it doesn't go off. I don't know why all the other strikes go off. But this strike has never gone off, and that strike is... Let me see. I want you guys to know what's going on here. Let's see. This is going to play us down for a sec. Don't mean to do that. Manage videos. Dashboard. James, active community guideline strikes. Community guidelines strike 2. Your content, Morgan's Hostage, was removed due to a violation of community guidelines and your channel got a second strike. That was on April 29th. Morgan's Hostage is a stream that you can see on ROKFIN. ROKFIN has no issues with that, nor is it broken any law. They're good with that. And so you guys could do the same. Let me just put this link in here. We're going to get started here in a sec. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to come over here. And if you missed Morgan's Hostage, here it is. Paste. Okay. There's what got us off last time. There's what got us off last time. But that's not actually the one that's still being affected. Active community strikes. 1 of 3 community strikes. The Wayfarer cult. This is the actual... I can show you this. I have the power to show you things. Pretty amazing. I have the power to show you things. Some of you thought I was going to unzip my pants. Channel dashboard. Is this it? YouTube Studio? Yep, here it is. Your content was removed for violation of community. Strike expires. Warning. So actually, I'm kind of confused. Strike on April 29th. That one expires June 28th. That's for Morgan's Hostage. Okay, the Wayfarer cult. This is when I first started debunking QAnon. Many of you know there's a figure that, satanic ritual abuse figure that is trying to sort of be the poster child of satanic ritual abuse, and has a story about Tom Hanks, and it pulls a lot of eyeballs in, gets a lot of readers in. They love that stuff. And as you start to unravel her story, it turns out that YouTube says I'm the one who's acting bad. I'm the one, because I'm not allowing a satanic ritual abuse person that has a made-up name tell stories on the internet. I'm harassing and bullying for that. I'd like to remind you that I also was busted for harassing and bullying Lex Wessner, a billionaire who owns American Eagle Outfitters, Victoria's Secret. Apparently, I am a danger to him. I'm such a threat to him that YouTube had to protect the billionaire from me. That's how dangerous I was about that. And all I did was tell you his history. Just read you his Wikipedia page. That's all it took. That's all it takes now. That's all it takes. Why did you can't? What did ROKFIN lie to you about? Dick, I'd like to know. Seriously, let me know. Oh, that was on the other stream. You guys, I need you to know something, that ROKFIN never, ever presented themselves to me or to anyone I know as a free speech platform. In fact, ROKFIN had a live stream where the CEO came on and said, I don't want people to think of us as a free speech platform. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Tell me more. And he goes, because the moment we become a free speech platform, we become a, hey, let's talk about these people, or let's talk about those people, or let's blame these people, or let's see if we can push the boundaries. Let's see how far we can push it. ROKFIN isn't interested in having a principled free speech platform. They just want a streaming network. That's all. They do. And there's certain things that you are going to be under felonious assault from other countries. Germany is one of those countries. This country of Germany, I've gotten emails from for the last 4 years. I'll get an email at random that says, Germany says, we have removed access to your content from our country because it violates international law. And that international law is that you're not allowed to question or doubt things, much like what we have going on right now here. It's the exact same system spreading all around us. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Most of you guys have now followed me on 3 different channels because it's the only way you're going to be able to see this. So, you're used to it. I realize that. But ROKFIN, I think, would be committing suicide by saying we're a free speech platform. I think the moment they do that, you'd see a cuckolds coming in and just trying to push that limit itself too. I don't need to blame any group for what's happening in the world. I don't need to blame anyone. I don't need to say it's these people. I don't need to say it's because my dad's a Luciferian and was out in the woods. I don't need to blame my dad. I don't need to blame how fucked up decisions I might have made when I was in Hollywood. I don't need to blame anyone else in the world, because the entire burden of what is happening to us is completely on the backs of us. And it's happening right now. It's a polio iron lung video going around, 13 million views. And it's being throttled by you-know-who. And the throttling of that is complete and ripe with comments that are just infiltrated saying, if only you would have had a vaccine. It's the exact same thing that's been happening for a long, long time. This is not new. We don't get to walk around anymore pretending 72 jabs. I had no idea that was happening. At 71, no idea. 72, now I know. As we've learned, and as we discussed last night, this is your aperture popping. Boom, it opens. And when it opens, it sees. The first thing you're going to do when you open is, holy frick, what's going on around here? And if you have a weak constitution, if you have a weak moral fiber, if you've been giving it your 100%, you're going to look for someone to blame. It's the first thing you're going to do. You're going to go, God, I just need someone to blame. Who can we blame? Who can we blame? And you're going to look around. And you're going to point. And you're going to notice who everyone else is at points. And you're going to have this prawn economy where everyone gets to vote. Who is it we're going to blame for this? And it's never going to be you. It's never going to be us. It's never going to be the conglomerate of us. It's always going to be them, the outsiders, the ones over there. The ones that are trying to hurt us here. And if we go over there and cause war, then all of us will be good. This has always been this stymie. This has always been the thing that's kept you in Dojo Earth. It's kept you in this realm. It's kept me in this realm until we learn the power of exactly who's responsible for our environment. Government is the lack of you. All systems in government are the lack of you. The day government closes is the day that humans have no lack. That's a pretty long way away, you could argue. Which is why government needs to be more expensive. The more expensive government gets, the less people understand that government is what I need. They start to understand that what I need is me. What I need is 60% of my life force always keeping me sovereign. And the 40%, it doesn't go to the government. It doesn't go to Ukraine. It goes to me, my family, my house, my home, my soil, my food, my clothing, my shelter, my Maslowian pyramid, all of these things. And that the stronger we are, the more resilient we become, the harder and harder and harder it gets for government to do what they do. It's just the nature of how it works. Today is AMA Day, and stop looking at that, James. That's the old one. You're never going to see new comments on that stream. You need to go to this stream. There, there we go. And, oh, good. There's the Rose Show. So, yeah. Today's AMA. That's what I was going to say. Today's AMA. It's Ask Me Anything. You guys might have nothing for me. It could be the shortest show in the world. I almost didn't even do a show today, but I kind of wanted to. I kind of wanted to. I couldn't help it. Plus, I really missed the Wednesday intro song. I haven't played it in a long time because I haven't done a Wednesday stream in a long time because I've been working on my deck. Some of you guys may know that the deck has been a big project of my mind. It's been the front one is done, although we're waiting on what I'm ever going to do about pickets. And the back one is really close. I don't know if you can see this or not. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't. Let me see. Let's see. Is that one? No, you still can't. Dang it. There's just the base of it. It's just an 8x10. That wasn't worth showing. It's too hard to see. It's just an 8x10 deck. But that one's done too. And yeah, I can finally return to normalcy. And with the coming normalcy comes the idea that my channel is no longer blocked. So now with that normalcy means we need to get back to AMA. And AMA has asked me anything. So, pressure's on, guys. What's it going to be? James is a real life, or I'm trying to be a real life pirate. If I was more of a real life pirate, you know what? I'm going to get back to that. I'm really, really working on being more of a real life pirate. Yeah, they all are insane. It's not just this one, Shiva. You're right. Did you guys see the American Airlines thing? Not American Airlines. All these pilots, all these safety groups are pushing back because of what's it say? Because of statements from International Coalition of Aviation and Medical Professionals, serious concerns with compromise in aviation safety due to vaccine injuries among flight crew. This represents over 30 airlines, thousands of pilots, and over 17,000 physicians and medical scientists. It's a good sign. It's a good sign. And it's people just basically hey, this is stupid. Hey, this is stupid. What you did was stupid. And government's like, huh? Us? We made a mistake. That never happens. Jim Crow, get over here. Did you make this mistake? So, yeah, it was, these things are mainstream science. Yeah, that is a funny word. Mainstream science. That's hilarious if you think about it. Mainstream science. How does that even work? What are cells? Human cells. Are we being lied to about them in mainstream science? What are cells? Human cells. Do you believe in plant cells? Because if you do, then you could certainly look at cells as building blocks. I mean, everyone knows that. But if you actually look at the complexity of a cell, I think there's an entire universe in there. And that universe is something that you have full sovereign control over. You are outside of that cell, but inside it too. You have omniscience and omnipotence over that cell. The only factor that you're still trying to focus on or work on, I would say, is your understanding and manipulation of mitochondria. The day that you learn to tap into and communicate with your mitochondria, remember it's a different DNA structure the mitochondria is the day that you start to really, really unleash your Ubermensch. I mean, seriously unleash it. So I would think that your cells are the final frontier, and tapping into the mitochondrial identity of those cells is very important. As we've talked about before, my theory is that the mitochondria are actually putting out a circadian rhythm that's like a universal beacon. Your body knows as time flows, it needs the mitochondria to keep up with that rhythm. And your cells are aware of that because they're watching the mitochondria secrete its energy in this circadian rhythm. It's what keeps us all in the same reality, would be these mitochondria that are kind of linking us together. That's a working theory I have. You can tell me I'm wrong if you want. James, what would you say is the difference between blaming the other and highlighting their actions? Do you think one can dislike the other without shirking responsibility? So, great question. You could blame someone. You could say, hey, you made a mistake. Or you could say, hey, look at how profitable your action was. Sounds very similar, right? But do you see how different they are? Hey, look how profitable your decision was. Versus, hey, something went wrong and I'm blaming you for it. None of us have hindsight. None of us have the future sight. Well, and some of you might be already into your mitochondria and you already have that. But having that distinction really changes your whole economy with the world, because there's no longer mistakes. You're just simply analyzing how profitable something was, if that makes sense, right? So I would say that your job, if you wanted a job to be like, how would you help, would be to simply just point out, notice the peculiarities of how profitable certain things are. Hey, I noticed when you give 100%, you turn into a cuck bitch because you just start thinking that the world depends on you obeying the government, and you lose yourself. Versus, hey, I saw you're only giving 40%, and look how much more efficient you are. Look how better your kids are for it. That's amazing, right? Right? James with the hat, you're a shoe-in to be an understudy for Bill Murray or Carl Spackler. I don't know who Carl Spackler is. I've been told the Cinderella story. I've been told that before, certainly. It's weird because when I was growing up, I was compared to much more good-looking men. And then as I gotten older, it's turned into, like Bill Murray. Nothing against Bill Murray. Bill Murray's a great guy, or seems to be a great guy. Why don't more people notice the trees burning inside? Like a veil is over their eyes. No amount of censorship could account for their blissful ignorance. Jeff Snyder, I don't know what that means. The trees burning inside. Why don't more people notice the trees burning inside? I feel like I'm one of those people now, Jeff. You'll need to explain that to me. Cells don't exist until removed from the body. That is a fascinating idea, Daniel. That is a fascinating idea. Both of you guys should be on the show right now. Explain what you mean. All of you, quickly. Explain what that means. Both those are interesting thoughts. Could inanimate objects be living as well and have life spirit, similar to when you all discussed leather being alive? And of course, not only could it has to be that way. It has to be that way, Christy. What you're looking at is a world that's slowly becoming conscious of itself. This old idea, this retarded idea that the Catholics are going around going, look, dogs don't have souls. Cats don't have souls. Only Christian-fearing men who have given 100% and circumcised their kids, they're the only ones that have souls. That's it. No one else has a soul. All right? And that's retard consciousness, right? It's living in this world where everything's dead except for you. It's a very, very arrogant way to see the world. Animism is not a problem, by the way. Our lack of sentience that we seem to constantly miss in the world is simply you slowly waking up. Your consciousness is not able to perceive all that witness at once. It's just too many. It's too much of it. So you've chosen to discern your witness, sort of like applying 40% to it. You've chosen to start to recognize that, hey, this environment is conscious around me. There's this thing called my mother. There's this thing called my brother. There's this thing called plants. There's this thing called dogs. But then a guy comes in and goes, well, plants are stupid. They don't have a soul. And your dog doesn't have a soul, so you should totally eat them right now. And you might buy that bullshit for a while, and then slowly you start to realize, yeah, that's not true either. In fact, even this retarded guy is conscious. It's slowly coming. So animism itself is the process of your aperture opening and awakening to the consciousness around you. You know, we discussed this before, but rocks are just conscious beings that are just fine. The end of prejudice will turn you into a crystal. When you have learned to simulate and understand everything in the world, you will enter into this calm state where you will simply cease to move. And it won't be because you're motionless. It won't be because you're immobile. It will be because you have no prejudice anymore. You have accepted the world completely as it is, completely as it will be. And so you have no desire to change it anymore. You and I define life right now as that which expresses prejudice. It's true. You and I will poke something with a stick, and if it moves, we will say, okay, you're alive. And if it doesn't move, we will say, no, you're not alive. It's how we define our environment around us. Animism is fixing that. Animism is slowly showing you that actually that's kind of a dumb litmus test, that everything is alive, just like in a cell. Everything in here is alive. Everything. And for me to say it's only the mitochondria that count, or to me to say only things in the nucleus count, would be you to be a bigot for conscious itself. And that's what an unconscious person does. Your aperture simply cannot fathom this data, so you close it off. You say you're not alive. And so we treat rocks as inanimate objects. I'm not saying change it. Do what you need to do. Rocks can take it. You know why? Because they are so much more evolved than you and I are. Isn't that weird? We have expressions, right? Like he's dumb as a rock. But a rock feels no pain. And an island never cries. No, a rock, it's not even that a rock feels no pain. A rock has a relationship with pain. You and I don't have that same kind of relationship. We express prejudice over pain. A rock sees pain, and it's like, yeah, there's pain. This is what Tesla was talking about with the crystals, right? That a crystal is a permanent state of being. And why does it have a permanent state? Because it's completely satisfied. It's completely accepting of its environment because it's understanding and fathoming that all of it is alive. Every bit of it. All of it is alive. Oh, happy day. I caught the live stream. All right, I'm glad you made it. Dora Monica's Purple Vibes podcast. Kind of a silly question, but what are your thoughts on having more than one girlfriend at once? I have much to say about this topic. Having more than one girlfriend at once is tricky business. It keeps you awake, my friend. Keeps you. I've got some interesting thoughts about that, honestly, because I am. I think I've reached that age where. Oh, you guys are going to hate this. Some of you guys are going to hate this. I've reached that age where I don't think monogamy is quite what we think it is. I don't think that intimacy is quite what we think it is. I think that you might find that you are more distant with your partner because you have a relationship that allows you to be more distant with each other. And I used to have this romantic idea that when you meet the woman of your dreams, she will understand you completely. She will get you. She will understand. Even if she disagrees, she will understand where you're coming from at all times. And that is like such bullshit. It took me so long to realize that. Women are far more complex and dynamic to be able to understand everything you're saying. It would suck if that worked. That's what a dog does. A dog understands everything you're saying. I think that the relationships that we have now with people are sometimes like agreements to kind of... so I'm not going to say treat each other like shit. I'm trying to say that we have agreements with each other where we're sort of allowed to kind of phone in our witness of each other because we're in a relationship. I don't like this. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm just putting some thought into this is all. And when I see a relationship, what I sort of see is like an agreement between two people where they don't always have to like be like the same level of respect you might show like a visitor in your home or whatever. It's a kind of an excuse to. It's a good. I think it's healthy, by the way. I think it's healthy because it helps you save energy because you're not constantly waking up going, "Oh, am I going to be perceived as rude?" or can I just clear my throat right now? Can I scratch my nose right now? And the answer is yes, yes, yes. Can I wear this around the house right now? Yes, the answer is yes. It's an agreement to be intimate with each other. But I want you to notice that intimate doesn't necessarily mean witness enhanced. Intimate actually is sort of like an excuse to be able to ignore someone and then not be offended by it. Does anyone here see any point in that, what I just said? Okay, Raina does not. I don't know about that, James. I think your soulmate holds deep understanding of you. It's why we can be so vulnerable with him. Raina, I think that you are your soulmate. I think I am my soulmate. And I think that there would be no one in this world ever more equipped to understand me than me. In fact, I think that it's so hard for me to understand me that I might find a replacement in the world that I will claim understands me better, but the truth is they never will. And that if you live an evacuated life, if you live a life where maybe you haven't fully self-actualized, you might actually prefer living a life where someone else understands you, but you don't understand yourself. Where you might find yourself regurgitating things to the other person simply to be understood. I think that's a pretty deep truth. And I think that it's such a deep truth that most people are like, I'm not into that at all. And I'm not saying you should be. I'm not. I'm not here to suggest you should or should not be in a relationship. I'm not. I'm here to tell you that I've learned a lot about myself. And most of that learning I've done, it was when I was alone, not when I was with a partner. My wife was so awesome at the time that all I needed was for her to understand me. I didn't need to understand myself. And I think that's what ends up either holding marriages together or completely ruining them, both at the same time. What if I was to tell you that people in a relationship aren't fully sovereign? What does anyone think about that? Is anyone getting mad at that? Any fires coming up on that? What if the idea of being in a relationship is sort of like training wheels for you understanding yourself? That having a soulmate is really you having someone that's politely telling you they understand you when they don't actually know if they understand you or not. When someone says they understand you, I think what you're really hearing is that they want to understand you, that they're willing to understand you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they do understand you. Do you understand? Do you understand me? I really think that's true. I don't know if you can have that kind of deep intimacy, especially with someone that you're in a romantic relationship with. Hear me out. Especially with someone. Because when you have a romantic relationship with someone like that, maybe romantic isn't even the right word, but when you have a couple, you guys are coupled. And the moment that you're coupled, certain pieces of you are not going to be shown to her and certain pieces of her are not going to be shown to her because you guys are coupled. Your metal's going to be touching metal. There's going to be certain surfaces you guys are never going to see of each other. It takes other people to see that. That's why other people have to come in and critique your relationship. They're the ones that see you better. Why? Because your soulmate doesn't see you. Your soulmate wants to see you. Why? Because your soulmate wants to live in a relationship where someone understands her or him. Who wouldn't? And I'm here to tell you, the person you want to understand you is you. That's who you want to understand you better than anyone else. This is why you wipe your own bottom. Guys, do you realize that if you truly were getting, I'm not trying to be gross, if you were truly were finding this soulmate relationship, they would be wiping your butt. They would be doing it because they would understand you just as well as you do, and it would be no problem. But that's not what happens. In fact, if anything, inside a couple, there's sort of a work to kind of hide these things from each other. It's a constant battle of, are we intimate or are we not intimate? So what is it? Can I fucking fart now or what? It comes down to these kind of questions. And most of these questions are never answered because no one ever has a conversation about it. No one. I could sense how terrified my wife was of farting. I could sense it. So whenever she went in the bathroom, I would start singing. I'd start making noise. I wouldn't do it like to make it really obvious, but I was trying to give her the opportunity where she could just fucking be herself. Just relax. Just relax. Me being in her house didn't actually make her relax. Her growing up in the home that she did, just like all of us have our own little dysfunctions, me included, you end up in this relationship and you're holding a posture. And you develop that posture when you're young. You're watching at 11, 12, 13 years old. You're watching, how is mom holding that posture for 36 years? And you're the only one that sees that because you understand your mom better than she does because you're objectively observing her more. She doesn't get to objectively observe herself more. That's why you understand your parents better than they do. So the ultimate relationship, the ultimate soulmate is going to be you. It's going to be you. And it's going to be the best relationship you have. And it's going to do something phenomenally either dangerous or prosperous to the relationship that you're in when you start to understand yourself completely. Wow, Nathaniel Graham. As the ancients have told, there are two paths to self-knowledge, that of the hermit and that of the lovers, demonstrated in the Tarot. I've never considered that. Ain't no one going to wipe my butt, says Steve Crockett. Except for you, right, Steve? Except for you. You need to say that. You definitely need to say that. And I find the flatulence beautiful, by the way. I noticed that one of the most intimate times I felt with my wife was the first time she fell asleep in the car when I was driving like 70 miles an hour. That made me feel like worthy of being a protector, if that makes sense. There's an intimacy that I found with myself when my wife was asleep, not when she was awake. I was learning something about myself. This goes to this Tarot comment about lovers. This is never a conversation I had with her. It's never something I could even share with her. If I woke her up and tell her that, she'd probably just be mad. It's like, why the fuck did you wake me up to tell me that? It's a different kind of balance because you have that relationship with yourself. When you get into marriage, you're actually getting in a relationship with yourself. And you're turning yourself into a man. You're turning yourself into a woman. I'm a James right now. I'm a James. I define myself by who James is. And because I define myself by who James is, I don't have the same societal crutches to say, well, this is what a man is. When you're in a relationship, you're not actually yourself as much as you're a man because you're a man in a relationship with a woman. And that woman's looking for a man to be in a relationship with. A woman's not actually looking for you. She's looking for a man. If that sounds bad, I think you just need to sleep with it because it goes both ways. A man, a John, is not looking for a Sarah so much as John's looking for a woman to be in a relationship with. I would think that would be the first requirement. In fact, I would think that if you'll notice right away that if you find someone that truly understands you, but they aren't a woman, you're probably not going to be in a relationship with them if you're a guy. Things like that. I'm more of not myself when I want a one-night stand. I'm more of not myself when I want a one-night stand. That's interesting. I don't know. That's interesting. What is a woman, says Angel Alexander? I have a test for what is a woman. It is a simple test. It is a test that's very vulgar if I was to explain to you what it involves, but it's very simple. It takes just a few minutes, even if that. And sometimes it could take a long time. It depends on how she takes the test, really. So I do know how to define a woman. I know you do too, Daniel. We have needs, James. Yes, Christy. So do men. Men have needs too. And one of those needs is to feel actualized. One of those needs is to feel identified. And women are such a beautiful, beautiful way of feeling that. It's such a beautiful way. But you're your only soulmate. You are. You're your only soulmate. You're going to be ashamed of the times when you pick your nose. And you're not going to tell your lover that. You're not going to lean in and say, hey, I just picked my nose and ate it. I love you so much. Give me a kiss. You're not going to do that. Why? Because you know that the harshness and judgment from that would kind of put a stink bomb in the room. This intimacy is a distance. And that distance is what gives you intimacy. Isn't that profound? It's true. The distance gives you intimacy. You will create fights in your relationship. You will create disagreements. You will find that you now have disagreements in your relationship, and you won't know why. You'll be like, well, why is that? That's just weird. And you'll say, well, I never knew that about John, or I never knew that. And the truth is that those things developed. They developed overnight. Why? Because the intimacy is too much, and the self needs space. The self needs self-witness. James, it sounds like you and your wife didn't break down the barriers past wanting sex and romance. I don't see why you really have the data to even say that, Andrew. I think maybe your one night stand thing is kind of still in your mind, because I've never actually been able to do that. I was in Tijuana once, and everyone in boot camp said, let's go get a whore. And I tried that one night stand thing, and the last thing I felt was intimate with myself. So I stopped. I was like, I'm not doing this. I tend to find a emotional romance before I find a sexual romance, just so you know. No, I said that she had trouble. But she had trouble farting in front of anybody. Why? Because she was raised as a golden child. When you're raised as a golden child, you're not allowed to fart. That's why. Not everything has to be my fault, Andrew. Just a thought. Not everything has to be my fault. Just so you know. We can certainly say everything's my fault, but it doesn't mean that everything has to be my fault. It could be that people just have issues that they bring. That could be it, right? I try to encourage that, but that actually made her feel less comfortable, because the intimacy was with herself, where it probably needed to be honest. The moment you shed all of those boundaries and all those shame, and you're with someone else right now, you really have lost all sense of who you are. I'm here to tell you that I believe your identity is mostly shored up and built by the shame in your life. And that shame is a vital glue that's made you who you are. That you end up with things that are important to you or not important to you. And those are based on your shame quotients. And those shame quotients are so old that it would be impossible for you to even try and explain them to a partner that wasn't there in your body living those same things. Feeling those same things. Right? But you couldn't be yourself. I think if anything, I was probably too much of myself, and I wasn't enough of being a man. My wife wanted a man. She wanted a man. A man doesn't complain. A man makes money. A man comes home. A man is quiet. A man listens. A man fixes things. When my wife goes out and sprays glyphosate all over the lawn and comes back in and says, my back hurts, will you go clean up all that stuff? A man would say yes. Me, I would say, why are you spraying glyphosate in our yard? Why are you spraying glyphosate in my yard and then asking me to go out and clean up the dead plants that you just murdered with chemicals? That's not what a man does. That's what James does. James is annoying. You wouldn't want to be in a house with James all the time, because James is going to constantly be challenging you like that. Why? Because that's how I define intimacy, Andrew. And the only person I can find that will ever be that intimate with me about that is me. I've never found anyone who was willing to be that scrutinous about things. And I think one of the reasons why is because I don't view the scrutiny as a bad thing. I think the scrutiny is a fascinating curiosity about the world. That when I scrutinize myself and figure out which things I decide to put a stand up for, like glycophosphates, versus which things I'm willing to dismiss, like let's drink a bottle of wine every night, that those things are telling me more about me. And I don't think all of us are equipped to be in a relationship, because some of us are, quite frankly, too sovereign. I'm not saying that if you're in a relationship you can't be sovereign. I'm saying that if you've coagulated into a certain sense of who you are, there's a reason why we call things hermit. There's a reason why we enter into these states of solitude. And it doesn't mean that life gets worse. If anything, life gets better. You can enter into this flow state. Most relationships, my friends, are run by appointments. Most relationships are satisfied and staved off by appointments and by the murder of immediacy. that the mundanity or the problems that you're having relating to your partner can be alleviated with, hey, this Friday, do you want to go have drinks with Sarah and John? Sure, that sounds good. And now all your issues are over because you are now living in this altered state of waiting for the appointment to come where you will go have drinks with Sarah and John. And when you're out there with Sarah and John, you guys will feel better as a couple because you will regulate next to them. They will regulate next to you. And not once have you actually had an intimate conversation with yourself because you're seeing the world from the polarity of a couple. I wish I could read everyone's comment at once just to see where you guys are on this because no one needs to ban Andrew. I can be myself around. I think it involves smearing smearing genitals is definitely an important part of this. You make noise for her as a sign of devotion and love for her. Well, thank you, SF. I knew that the thing that was making my wife's life hard was that she was not allowed to be in her humanity. Does that make sense? To me, if my wife was to fart in front of me, it would have made her human. And I think it would have helped her a lot. And you don't get to say, well, James, why didn't you just say that? Because I tried to say that a lot. But my wife, it's been an entire lifetime living up to the golden child Percy's standard. And frankly, she doesn't need anybody. She needed the opposite of what I was giving her. I was trying to give her the understanding of a scapegoat. Golden childs don't want understanding. Golden childs want victory. Golden childs have been tuned to like victory their whole life. For you to understand them would be for you to start to secrete and put cracks in that. Because most of the reasons why they win weren't even necessarily because of who they were. It's more about because they wanted it more because they were so desperate to have that. It was the only way they could survive. It's what it's like being a golden child. I chose my wife because she was a golden child. My wife chose me because I was a scapegoat. We needed the vitriol of being in love with each other so we could try and resolve ourselves and find who we are. I don't think that that's even a faulty marriage. What I'm saying is that I think marriage is just as effective as any other kind of vitriol you might go through. It's a journey. How you do through that journey determines who you are. It's not about did you stay married the whole time. It's about what you did in that marriage, what you gained, what you lost, all those things. I don't know if you can learn that much if you don't get a divorce. I would say that if you lived your whole life with the same person, maybe you never got to know yourself that entire time. Maybe. And I'm not saying we're all here to get to know ourselves. I'm not here to say everyone has to be sovereign. I don't think the world works that way. I look at the world all the time, and there's all kinds of tandem fruits and tandem trees and tandem life forms like that. There's nothing wrong with that. Slavery is the same excuse. We all talk about how shitty slavery is, but every one of our ancestors needed slavery to get here today. And we waited 50 years after we were done with slavery to say how awful slavery was. But back when we had slavery, we were like, dude, will you please enslave me? Why? Because I don't have any shoes and it's winter and I'm cold. Will you please enslave me? It's like, dude, I don't want to enslave you. Come on, I'll be a good slave. But then I'll have to feed you. I know, but you can beat me. I'll do things. I'll do things for you. Whatever it takes, man, just enslave me. Come on, enslave me. You don't think that's how it worked? You really don't think that's how it worked? You really think that it was a world where, oh, you put this chain on me. Now for 30 years, I'm never going to be able to get away because you've got a chain on me that one day. Do you really think that's how it worked? When Rutherford came into the South, Conotakarius, Washington, Sherman, of course, their first order of business was to burn 52 Cherokee villages to the ground. It was the only way that you could initiate a state where they would need slavery. And after they would burn the village to the ground and destroy the crops, destroy the cornfields, destroy every kind of piece of agriculture that the Cherokee had at that point. Only then could they convince them that slavery was the right call. It didn't take a chain. You don't put someone in a chain, then they're like, oh crap, you got a chain on me. I'm a slave now. Darn it. What happened, Grandpa? Well, 48 years ago, I slipped and I was coming out of a bar on a banana peel and it put a chain on me. And I've been a slave the whole time. It doesn't work that way. You realize that Rome itself was an upward mobility culture because of slavery, because it was built on that. So, I don't know if you could learn that much if you didn't make a child. I think that when we make childs, this is kind of a weird thing, but I've been thinking lately that the reason why you make a child is because you can't deal with your own shit and you need to pass your karma on to someone else to carry as they go. I think that the person who is able to live a fully actualized sovereign life and not have a child is the one that's actually able to resolve all of their karma in this single life. We could pass these things back and forth, Andrew, all you want. We could say, oh, yeah, well, this is what. We could do that. And we could say which one's better, that having children makes you good and not having children makes you bad or whatever, or being married or God forbid, we could go Owen on this thing and say, oh, you got to, we could go all there. But I don't really think it's really fair to even argue over which one might lead to more or less, because that actualization is going to be through you. So whatever tool it is that you need at the time, it's just interesting that when you have a child, you're giving all your epigenetic wisdom and epigenetic poison, and you're putting it into someone else. And you're saying, here, have fun. And we're pretending that that's the only way that you would be able to understand yourself, is to put these things on someone else. And that makes no sense to me at all. Most of us have a desire because we're afraid to die. Most of us have kids because we're afraid to die, Andrew. It's true. Most people have kids because they're afraid to die. And they're under the impression that if they have kids, they won't die. That's the Maslow's pyramid of food, clothing, shelter. Survival. I'm not saying everyone who has kids does it because they don't want to die. I'm telling you that the reason why most people have kids is because they don't want to die. And I know that because I know what it's like for a psychological zygote to grow into a human. And as they grow, they start to get over the fact that, hey, I'm going to die anyway, and kids doesn't help me not die, and they start to look at other things to actualize. They start to have other conversations with themselves. Some of them might find, this village is not what it's cracked up to be. Turns out there's a lot of weird motherfuckers in here. Maybe I'm not going to understand myself better by being in a village. Maybe I understand myself better by being out of the village, right? That's why it's so hard to see these things when you're in them. You really have to be in both seats, I think. You really have to be in both positions to find that out. Why not partnership? Why does every relationship end up incorporating under a contract marriage license and giving POA to the ruling nobility? That's a really good point, Stephen. Having children, good. Not having children, good. There you go, Shiva. So you can't see yourself coupled because you want a full view, get a full view from the third person. No, Andrew, I don't see myself coupled with someone because I'm 51 years old now, and because I've been through a lot and I've spent a lot of my time coupled, and because of my consciousness and my experience and the thing. You see, it's much more complicated than that. Each of us are flowers and we're fruiting at whatever point we're going to do it, So it's really not so cut and dry where there's like a right decision and a wrong decision. It's not wrong to have kids. It's not right to have kids. It's not wrong to get a divorce. It's not right to get married. None of those things make you righteous. None of those things make you wrongus. Why don't we have a word wrongus, right? That's so wrongus of you, right? We have a righteous. It's very righteous of you, but we don't have a wrongus of you. It's weird. We don't have that. We should get that. My brother told me recently they are trying to have a kid. I said, why? He told me to give them a purpose in life. Yeah, see, Mandy? I think a lot of people have children to try and make their relationship better. I know that because I were friends with these people, and all of a sudden I noticed, well, you guys fight all the time. What are you doing? We're having a kid. Like, so we'll stop fighting. I'm like, holy fuck. That poor kid. Does it mean everyone? No, of course not. Of course not. But you can't sit there and say there's this notion going around. As soon as you have kids, you're like Mr. Noble. No, Do you realize how many of those kids are given jabs all the time? Do you really think that those parents are fucking noble because they have kids? Now they suddenly understand everything? No, no, no. In fact, it gets worse then. It gets worse because all the stakes are higher. Not only, you know why the stakes are higher? Because you gave a new life all of your epigenetic wisdom and all of your epigenetic curses and said, here, have fucking fun. By the way, I'm sending you to public school. Cutting off the end of your dick. I'm giving you special K 3 minutes after you're born. Because of how fucking wise I am? Because I'm married. Because of how wise I am? Because I had a kid. No. Sorry. That argument is not going to cut it here. It's not. It's not. People have kids because they're afraid of dying. People have kids because they want the relationship to stay together. I'm pretty sure on YouTube this morning, this sailing couple that's like Project Atticus, it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I think they had a kid now because they ran out of content for the show. That's what I think. And I'm pretty sure I'm right. Does it mean all? No. There's some awesome parents out there. You kidding? I know there's awesome parents out there because of how cool the people are in this room. You guys had cool parents, even if they're fucked up. But I see this truth more than others are willing to admit it. Because you're never, ever, ever, ever going to get a parent to admit, yeah, I totally had that kid because my wife and I are fighting all the time. Never will they admit that. Never will they admit I felt like I was trapped, so we had kids. I felt I was trapped. Never. And what ends up happening, one of the kids becomes the scapegoat. He becomes the dumpster for all the prana. And what the other one comes, the ones that's not allowed to have any dumpster prana. The one that has no waste, that's always perfect. We commit sin on our children. We give them all of these things. It's part of what makes us work so hard to be a good parent. It's part of why we feel so shitty about our role as parents. My son is not mine to own. He is his own soul's journey. There you go, discerning light. So many people act like they are most righteous just because, yeah, it's not even like a... It's more of just kind of like the default, what society tells you. And I think what happens is that people are approaching consciousness, get fooled by what society tells them, the peer pressure of it all. The peer pressure of it all ends up coaxing you into thinking that this is how you define success. That's why I went to college. I was under the impression that if I went to college, my mom would be proud of me. I was under the impression if I went to college, I would learn things. It's the worst waste of time I've ever had. It's a horrible, horrible experience. Probably would have been horrible if I would have gone, by the way. Probably would have been just as bad. The point is that we're putting ourselves through these events, and you don't get to say, well, if you do this and you do this and you do this, you're going to avoid vitriol. You're going to do everything right. That's not how this place works. It would suck if it worked that way. Cern Dirt. Hi, James True. Good to see you live. I've been enjoying your Prometheus library. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for enjoying that. We have Prometheus library for sale. It's everything I've ever done. Ever. 5 books. 320 podcasts. Screenplay. All in one zip drive that can be yours. With a special gift. All on my website. And if you enter your genitals at checkout, you receive a discount. It's true. Library of Prometheus. Yep. Right now it says $264, but if you enter penis or vagina, depending on which one you have in your pants, and I will be checking. Before I ship, I will be asking you to send a photo of your genitals to verify that you entered the right one. And if you do that, you will it's a pretty big savings, actually, on that. There's the link for it. Oh, thank you, Married Moth. Thank you for that. Let me get my iOmega zip drive. Oh, my God. Are you as old as me, Wayne? Guys, Wayne has an iOmega zip drive. Is that what I said? Did I say that? Because that's, like, so old. Oh, my God. I meant a thumb drive. If I said zip drive, I can't believe this. Holy shit, Wayne. I want to high-five you. I don't even know you yet. Holy shit, that's amazing. Yeah, so there you go. It's not an iOmega zip drive. You will not need a zip drive to read this, I promise. Yeah, I'm sending it out on 37,000 floppies. The 5.5 inch floppies, too. Not the, yeah, I just dated myself, didn't I? This is why I'm not married, Andrew. Because I'm walking around going, hey, baby, you want to come over to my house and watch a 4-bit resolution of Tombstone on iOmega zip drive? Now, look, when we get it hooked up, the SCSI port is going to have a problem, and I'm going to have to get some more of them screws because, you pulled it out too soon when it was still screwed in, and we're going to have to reboot because every time the SCSI comes up, it's going to look for another port, and it's going to think the other port's taken, and then it's going to say it's already been there, and then every time you try and access it, it's going to have a problem. Yeah. Oh, 100 megabyte iOmega. Damn, Tornado, you show off. Got them 100 megabyte iOmega zip drives. Man, those are biggies. Tell ya. Oh, check out my floppy. My floppy ain't so floppy now. Everybody's laughing. I would not have expected that kind of technology hipsterism. You know what, JP? It wasn't even hipster. That was just me just fucking being old. It wasn't even hipster, right? That stuff wasn't even cool. Those things were a problem. Holy shit, I worked in a design office and it was always a crapshoot. It's like, well, we got to pull the Memorial Hospital art off the zip drive. And it's just like, oh, God, we're going to have to redo it, aren't we? And yeah, pretty much have to do it, everything. I have everything on cassettes. Well, there you go. There's a better chance someone has a floppy drive to read it than a zip drive. I probably do have a floppy drive somewhere in my house as a joke. By the way, you cannot pull data off floppy drives now. I tried that with my floppy drive. I cooked up my floppy drive. It can't even read it now. Doesn't even know what it is. It's just like, what are you doing? Why are you touching me there? Says the computer. Stop. That port doesn't even work. I just did it there. I just put it there to make you feel better. Not NASA though. Sorry, Memorial Hospital. We would pull up your logo, but that technology's too painful. That's what they meant. They had it all on iOmega zip drives. Yeah. A lot of you guys have floppy drives. This is we got a hip crowd here, I guess you could say. Totally lost my thought. The iOmega zip drive just took me out there. I think. By the way, I do believe in monogamy. I think polygamy is for retards. I think that people that lack the ability to have a monogamous relationship really have no business doing anything but masturbating with themselves. So it's not like I'm like a complete anti-establishmentarian kind of a thing like that. I don't think that you could find intimacy without monogamy. I think it's impossible. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed that tangent. We went to the moon on 8K. Yeah, I don't even know if it was that. It was just more like, did we go? Yes, we did. What else we got? Good. I'm glad. Yeah, the Eye of Ra's in there too. Also, one of you wrote a great question. Who was it? It was. I want to say it's John. Let me just look real quick because he's probably wondering why I haven't written it back. Where is it? I actually think that I enjoy relationships more now because I'm single, by the way. When I was in a relationship, there were certain people I just wasn't allowed to talk to. Certain people I wasn't allowed to interact with. I could, but it was so expensive that it just became obviously clear that you couldn't really do that. That really bothered me a lot because I really enjoyed just connecting with people. Have you guys experienced that? I'm not saying it's unhealthy too. It's part of the, if you want to be a man for a woman, she's going to want to be able to rely on you as if she thinks a man as she thinks a man should be reliable. If you're not able to meet those requirements that make you reliable, you're not going to be staying in that relationship. And it's not because, oh, she understood you. No, it's because you weren't fulfilling your role as a man. These are different tactics. And there's nothing wrong with that. How in the world is a woman going to raise a child if she doesn't have a man? Like someone who will be there to fulfill all those issues. Here it is, Jason. Jason says, I was making my way through your older material catching up and noticed there is no 202 through 206 in the episode numbers, and it isn't on ROKFIN. Would these happen to be on your zip drive you sell? Jason called it a zip drive. Guys, Jason called it a zip drive in his email, and that was this weekend. So there you go. Thanks, man. Have a great weekend. Thank you for Jason. I want you to know, Jason, that since you've written, I have found episodes 202 through 206. I have converted them into podcasts, and I have placed them inside the Library of Prometheus. And those episodes were during another one of the many shutdowns that we received. And those would be, I'm going to tell you, Library of Prometheus podcast, date modified. I probably should say date created. Yeah, Babylon's Lover. That's episode 203. New Moon Check-In, episode 204. 205, the hidden episode. Episode 206, you'll never see this episode either. All four of those episodes are inside the Library of Prometheus, with special thanks to Jason for putting it there. Man, I hope you guys don't put me down now as the guy that hates family and marriage. I really hope that, if it gets turned into that, whatever, it gets turned into that. But that's not actually what I was saying. Holy cow, this is a really big super chat just came in. I am seeking truth, justice, and judgment, executed for my grandson's blood that cries out from the dust against the evil ones that tormented him to his death. Holy shit, Stephen J. Can you please elaborate? Executed for my grandson's blood that cries out from the dust against the evil ones that tormented him to his death. Holy shit. Stephen J. What is going on, man? I seriously want to just know more. So let us know more. I enjoy people who can be single. So do I. Also, that when you're single, have you noticed it's really hard to be friends with a couple that they don't like with you? They don't like that. They're like, oh, you don't have a girlfriend? Yeah, I'm going to need you to go. I'm going to need you to go now. It's not going to work. Alexander Lightwater just farted. Wanted you to know this week and feel intimate. James True. I feel so intimate, Alexander. I was just sitting here going, God, I feel so intimate with Alexander right now, and I don't know why. And now I know why. It's because you farted, so thank you, sir. 5 1/4. I don't know what that means. Let's see here. Yeah, being the third wheel sucks. And it only sucks because, well, I'm not going to say only. I'm probably just going to get nothing but shit. In fact, I'm afraid to read what Noam wrote. While we were on the topic, there are also a few dojo vids missing starting around 151. I think it was the Dojo Earth time that probably caused this when we shut down. Okay, that's good. Those Dojo Earth things are not on the Library of Prometheus. But I hear what you're saying. There's appear to be missing from the library. It's a good time for me to know that stuff, actually. It's a good spring cleaning for me. I've been getting a lot of things back in order. I'm not that was. I've attempted to send you an email, and as a writer looking for the perfect words, it's still in a draft file. CERN Dirt, Karen, the writer, I think that you will find... Does anyone out there want writing tips from me? If so, I'm gonna give you a writing tip. You will be a better writer by stop trying to hit it out of the park. You will be a better writer by gutturally just saying what's on your mind as fastly as you can. And after you say it, I want you to feel, how did that feel? What was the calligraphy of what I just said? That will make you a better writer. When you try and write something good, I want you to know that you are creating an appointment in the near future that may or may not happen. You're saying, I'm going to have to really write something good here. What would be really good that I would write? Well, and then you imagine what it would be like to be someone who's a writer that wrote something really good, and then you would try and mimic that. You're regurgitating or copying what you think a writer would do. And that's actually not how a writer works. When a writer is truly writing, he is guttural. He is not planning. He is deep in the trenches of himself. He finds it important to say as quickly as he can what he has on his mind because he doesn't want it to not get recorded. The recording of writing in front of a witness is what makes you a better writer. That's why I highly recommend Twitter. Twitter will make you a better writer because you are constantly being forced to condense a thought into 255 characters or whatever it is now, and say those things in such a way that is popular. And you will never know how well it hits until after it's been received. And you will never grow as a writer until it keeps not getting hits. It's the constant, oh, so no one responded to that tweet. That's what makes you a writer. Because it makes you start to analyze the structure and function, not of your words. You'll do that at first. At first you'll be like, oh, it's my words. I chose the wrong words. Then you'll start to notice, holy fuck. It's the profundity of my posture. It's the confidence of my posture when I was delivering this. You and I are stuck on this idea that music is music. But the true power of what you're hearing when you're hearing music is the space between the notes. That jazz drummer, has the slightest, most subtle ticks, delays, inconsistencies through every measure. It's just slightly off. And that's what makes it so fucking human. And your comfortableness with how much you're off is what makes you a good writer. It's how comfortable you are in the cockpit of being wrong that makes you such a right-on writer. Your wrongestness is much more important for your writing ability than your righteousness, your wrongestness. Embracing that wrongestness gets you so much farther because you start to understand what it feels like. And now you're driving on the road, but you're not, you feel your tires on the road, but you're never able to see your tires, are you? You ever notice that about driving? You're driving, you feel your tires. You don't see them. You feel them on the road. You start to associate with your pen. You start to associate with your tires. And you find it's a different relationship. It's more about the flow. It's not about the jewels that pop out. It's more about the flow. And in that flow, you will find that other people are the ones that are telling you you're a good writer, not you. You will find so much joy in the process of the calligraphy itself that you will forget about being a writer. You won't try and be a writer. You're simply someone who's expressing yourself through a calligraphy. You're finding your presence in the moment. You're removing yourself from all appointments, and you're just expressing yourself in the pure now. You have no harpoons. You're not going for drinks with John and Sarah on Saturday. You haven't put off your entire life until this event that's coming up, where maybe the two of you can have a good time for a chance. But until now, it's just going to be hell on earth inside this house, is because none of us can fart in front of each other. You enter into this different kind of state, this different kind of mindset, where the guttural you becomes your soulmate. And that's when the words flow. And I swear to you, you will be writing and you will start crying. And no one's around. And you'll be like, why am I such a bitch? And you're doing that because you found your guttural you. You're in a relationship with your soulmate now. And your soulmate is a beautiful fucking writer. Holy shit. What did he just say again? And you read what you just said again. And you didn't consciously say, I'm going to say this now. I'm going to come up with something to write now. You were gutturally on your way. You were simply expressing your calligraphy, and it just fell. It just fell out of your hands. It fell out of your fingers on the page, and there it is. And you remember it. And you enter into the state where you no longer give a shit if someone else thinks you're a good writer. You start to realize you're your best art critic, and you start to look at your own paintings and start to go, holy fuck, this would have been so much more profound if blah, blah, blah. And that's stored in your salt, and it doesn't come out for 7 years because you won't have that opportunity for that long to be in the same situation where you can learn that lesson. That's why you need about 1.65 of these lessons all rolled together all at once, which is why you need to be writing every day. You need to be writing every day. You need to be feeling like a bitch because what you said didn't take off or didn't register or people didn't know what you mean or all the other stuff. Or God forbid you misspell something, right? And you keep going through that vitriol, you keep riding that train, and you find that you never actually had to become a good writer. All you had to do was develop the posture and to find the calligraphy and just to live in the moment of flow. You're honoring yourself. You're honoring your touching of the canvas, and it doesn't matter shit to you if anyone's witnessing it or not. If anything, witnesses ruin it because they may not truly understand what it is that you just uncovered in yourself. That's what makes a good writer. There's your charisma. There's where it comes. It has nothing to do with anyone else, which is why I think it's really hard to be a writer when you're in a relationship. Why? Because you're going to say, hey, honey, could you come take a look at this? And what's he going to say? Oh, my God, dear, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever read. Why? Because you guys have an agreement with each other. You have an agreement with each other that this is what we do. And if you try and have a relationship with sensei, it's impossible. You have to do that to yourself, or you have to seek that outside your home. You can't do that inside your home. You can't have a karate teacher in your home. You can't. You're going to be sitting there making biscuits. They're going to sweep you on your ass and knock you on the floor. Oh, you should have looked. You can crack an egg on your head, smeared in you. Now it won't make you forget. That's not a relationship you're going to want. It becomes very, very difficult to find these places when you're concerned about someone else in the room. It just becomes very difficult, that's all. I'm not saying it's not worth it. Some of us really, really, really enjoy having this, I mean this in a good way, a codependent life. There's nothing wrong with that. Families are beautiful. Cults are beautiful. People gathered together doing things are beautiful. It's awesome. I wish, if I was less of myself, I would enjoy that kind of thing more, But I've also been in relationships where I feel completely kind of encased in concrete because I know what my role is and I know what would be important to be a good partner, and that has nothing to do with what would be important for me is to find my own soulmate. And for me to do that, to find my own soulmate, would be selfish. I think one of the hardest things to do in life is to be in a relationship and realize you're not able to fulfill your soulmate obligations. It becomes so hard at that point. Because now you're at the point where you have to hurt someone else in order to help yourself, and most people don't have the self-energy to do something like that. And they think it's being nice because they're just going to sit in the relationship and stay with it. But really, what do? They end up resenting and torturing the other person the rest of their life. They do. You can't stomach and swallow that stuff. If you're abandoning yourself, you're not going to be able to swallow it forever. Doesn't mean you're for a relationship you have to abandon yourself. I'm saying that if your relationship is really, really hard to find yourself. That's all. Neighbors are great. Can you share the woman test? I think that's the third time I've asked. B, I cannot share the woman test, no. But it is a tactile test, and I was being very vulgar. I'll just say that. Yes, James CB. I think I just did. I love culture kombucha. Marriages support spiritual growth in their partners versus improving monetary security. Marriage to support spiritual growth in their partners versus improving monetary security, etc. Yeah, I don't know if that's possible, Tony G33. It could be. I just don't know if it's possible. Meaning that I don't know if a relationship is really... Here's what I'm trying to say. The spiritual growth, I think, would happen naturally alone. I think it'd be really hard for the spiritual growth to happen when there's a partner sitting there going, hey, are you spiritually growing right now? Cool, I'm going to watch. Oh, look at you spiritually grow. It sounds kind of smart-assy, sorry, but it's like, I don't know if that's possible. I just don't know. The hardest thing to do is to realize is change someone else's perspective. Yeah. You learn from the child. Of course you do. Yeah. You learn from everyone in your environment, though. Everyone. Unless you don't want to, then you don't. I once ended a relationship because he didn't believe in any sort of oral sex. It was a deal breaker for me, says Mandy. See? It's a perfect example. Mandy, there's nothing wrong with that. It's, I think that you were looking for a man, an oral sex man, a man that approved of oral sex. And it should be a deal breaker for you because the relationship is costing you a lot of witness time with your soulmate. It is. The relationship is costing you a lot of negligence towards that relationship with your soulmate. You don't have all that moment alone to really think about stuff. You have a giant distraction in the room that's kind of hot that you get to poke things in and gooey stuff comes out and women make the most beautiful noises if you do it right. It's like the best distraction in the world. I don't know how much soul work I'm going to be doing from caramelizing my love over my wife's beautiful naked body. Selfish, that's me. No man or fish living in the sea. Everything's about relationship. It's how we know ourselves. Everything is about relationship. It's how we know ourselves. Yeah, I think so. Linda. And the relationship that is promised is not really a relationship that's nurtured. It's a relationship that's more under contract. This is what someone had made a comment about earlier about the whole contracting it out. Being God that's diplomatic. Being a strong witness for yourself will filter out most of your prospects. But yes, it really will, Tides of Truth. That's what I tell myself. That's why I'm not covered in women. It's because I got such a strong witness in myself that it filters out all my beautiful prospects. I love it. I'm going with that one, Tides of Truth. I'm going with that one. I don't find myself missing a relationship. I love humans. I love intimacy. I love talking to people. I would be very sad if I wasn't doing a show. It'd be even sadder if I wasn't having a dojo. The relationship that I have with the people in my life is very, very important to me. So I hope you know that this is not me saying that you need to live a solitary life. I'm saying that I think all of your interactions with people need to be maybe non-contractual, but more built in the flux and flow of real life witness. It just keeps you on your toes more. You get plenty of witness from women, James True. Plenty. I think that women's witness is some of the finest witness you'll ever get. It's pretty freaking special. Can't really argue with that. For what it's worth, though, I think men are cool as shit too. I find consciousness just to be very saturating for me, if that matters any. I find human consciousness to be just really, really awesome. And I get fed from all kinds of genitals, and I get fed from all kinds of genders. I should say from both genders in that way. Yeah, definitely through the show, and some of those witness from women through the show. Married Month has actually kind of been a little bit nuts too. We know that. Yeah, there's witness and there's wetness, as Susie Lee says. We are so back. Yeah, we are. Speaking of back, it's already 12:30. I thought it was like 11:11. I had no idea. So, I think we'll let Susie Lee's comment. I'm glad she said that, not me. I wonder if I could even gotten away with saying that. Now that she said it, I can say it because I'm just quoting what Susie Lee said. But yeah. Let's close it out. I do want people to know though that I don't know why I need to say this except for I'll just say it. I had a girlfriend, Audrey. We were together for like 10 years. She's still awesome. Really bought into the whole COVID stuff, which is unfortunately, but she had this friend, this guy named Gray Eagle. He was Gray Eagle, was his name. And he was such a horn dogger that he would only talk to women. And I found him fascinating until I realized how jealous I was that he would never give me the same amount of attention that he was giving women. and I just wanted to have a conversation with him. It was really kind of creepy, and I guess I just want people to know that 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 I actually don't think that women's witness is like more valuable than men's. In fact, in many ways, man's witness can be more valuable because I'm a man, and it's just a more of a relationary type of thing. But I'd be lying to say that I'm just not more naturally dilated by a woman. I just am. Um, there's worse things to be dilated by. So I'm not even saying that's a wrong thing. However, it does create some intimacy issues with guys sometimes because they might be reading into that and thinking that they lack the adequacy or whatever for that. So I've been over this before. It's a really subtle point. I'm sorry, it's probably not going to come out smooth enough, but this is why being a writer is you just have to try this stuff. I think that we are still learning that you can be dilated by someone and you don't necessarily have to be attracted to them. And like Gray Eagle didn't know that. He thought if he was dilated by someone, it's because he wanted to have sex with them. Therefore, it had to be a woman. And I find in dojo, I'm just as fascinated. But I'm fascinated by authenticity. It's the authenticity that tends to dilate me the most. Why? Because I don't have to have sex with something that dilates me. When you're living in 4-bit world, you think that that's the case. In fact, the reason why this intro, you guys may have remembered the intro from today's show. There's a ballet dancer. She's, I don't know, 16, 17? I have no idea. I'm just guessing. I would think that it would be inappropriate to be sexually attracted to her, but I find her posture, the way she holds herself, the way she giggles when she's confronted by her teacher, to be so dilating, like saturatingly dilating to me to watch that. And it's not a sexual thing, but it does happen to be a woman, and she is wearing tight clothes, and she does have a figure. As you understand your soulmate relationship with yourself, I think you start to tap into this stuff. And I think it's part of why maybe I don't do so well in relationships, because I find people so dilating that maybe others that are with me are confusing that and thinking that the dilation means attraction too. And if I was a fair partner, which I try and be, I would have to be aware of that and respond to that too, see? So it's not even like, well, because that's not posturally correct, it's wrong. No, that's not how relationships work at all. Your job is to help your partner. It doesn't matter if your partner's wrong. Your job is to help your partner. Help. Doesn't mean enable, but to help. So it's not even about, well, I'm sorry, honey, but you're just misunderstanding the power of witness and conscience. That would never work either. It's a subtle, subtle dance. Thank you, Elites Aganon. Agamemnon. I know what that word means. I just have trouble saying it. It's the same thing with zetetic. Look just at how James responded to everything I said. No, male witness is always constricting. Wow, Andrew. Male witness is always constricting. Holy shit, dude. Andrew, I think you're just drunk today. I'll just be straight up. I think you're drunk today. A lot of weird shit's coming out of you today, Andrew. Just something to consider. You know, maybe I put you on the spot there, but male witness is always constricting. What does that even mean? Okay, if I said the same thing that Mandy said, he wouldn't disagree too. Okay, I gotcha. So if a female says something, I agree with her, and if a male says something, I disagree. That's the theory. Well, we'll have to find out. I really agree with you, Andrew. I think you've made a wise point. Mandy, you are so fucking wrong. No idea what you're talking about, Mandy. I don't even know how to do things like this. I think Andrew needs to get laid, as Christy just said. Question, why look at the sun with open eyes if the eyes are the place where reality is rendered? Wouldn't it be enough to just face the sun? That's a damn good question, Akai. I think as you, yeah, and I don't want to ban Andrew. I think this is good vitriol for Andrew too. So these will be different phases for Andrew and I both as the day continues. Why look at the sun with open eyes? If the eyes are the place where reality is rendered, wouldn't it be enough to just face the sun? I think that you're really tapping into a technology of belief, Akai S1000. What I mean by that is that the reason why we feel, check this out, the reason why we feel, I love you, Andrew, but Akai S1000, the reason why we feel so immersed in this world is because we look at the biology of our equipment, and the equipment makes us think that all this is real. That the eyes are designed the way they are because they allow your technology to render and create the world in such a way to where the sun burns, but only when you look at it. It's showing you the true power of your presence, of your consciousness. I hope that makes sense. Let's see. I don't want to end on that note with Andrew, but he's probably going to say, he's probably typing something right now. Nothing against anyone here. And I don't even think I'm right. I'm just telling you what my perspective is. Andrew did mention MGTOW before, which always heightens the does that dude just get... Okay. Yeah, MGTOW is definitely an issue. I truly appreciate your witness. I appreciate yours too, Marker. I'm more of a scapegoat than James is, which is crazy to think about. I don't know. I think I could maybe out-scapegoat you, Andrew. You'd have to have a contest. 2 scapegoats. 1 cliff. Which one will they throw off? Andrew's a vine going, push me off, man. Let me be the source of your sin. And James is like, no. Let me be the source of your sin. Wipe your sin on me. Walk me to the cliff and push me off. The village will be better. It will be so much better. And we could have a scapegoat off. I think it's kind of fucked, though, that you're like, if Mandy would have said that, it would have been fine. You didn't even know that. You have no idea how that's even true. I think that's why people are like saying maybe you need to get laid. Call me Worf, says Andrew. This stream has been hella good. I'm glad it's been good. But can 2 scapegoats get romantic? Well, if they have a fetish for being scapegoats, yes. In fact, that's another giant part of relationships. Do you realize how many relationships or someone has a fetish for being dumped on? Or someone has a fetish for dumping on someone else? So can we stop saying that relationships mean that you're emotionally intelligent and that you're ready for the world, and if you're not in a relationship, you're not? Because some of the most horrible atrocities are done to other human beings inside the context of a fucking relationship, guys. Hey James, have you found it difficult to make future plans in your own life or stay on task with the uncertainty in the air of the times? Yes, I have found it very difficult to make future plans, which is why I just stop. I'm really focused on my daily life. Like, just really focused on that. Really focused on the opportunities that I have to be in the sun during the day. Like something that simple. The opportunities I have to improve my home around me or fall off a deck or whatever. I noticed that when I keep having these harpoons in the future, it really kills my ability to have a relationship with my soulmate. This is kind of what I was meaning about relationships too. Yesterday I had 3 appointments. It annoyed the shit out of me. The appointments I was glad to have. I enjoyed doing them all, but I hated the whole waiting until that happened because my life was on hold until this appointment came. I think being in a relationship is being on that hold bin all the time. Because you're waiting for your wife to get home so you guys can cook dinner. Or you're waiting for your wife to get ready so you guys can go to the store and buy things from Costco. Or you're waiting for your husband to get ready so you guys can go to this weekend retreat somewhere. There's nothing wrong with having plans, but I'm trying to tell you that me personally, just James True, me personally, I find myself evacuated during these moments. And when I keep practicing being evacuated, and the way I keep practicing from being evacuated is to keep having an appointment. The more appointments I make, the more evacuated I am until they're done. After the appointment, I feel like myself again, if that makes sense. And so me personally, I find that one of the biggest things that ruins my flow state is planning ahead. If that makes sense, NPC, non-playing characters. The biggest thing that hurts my connection to my soulmate is plans in the future. That's what I'm trying to say. And if I'm always giving 40%, I'm always having an excess. I'm always having a savings account. It's not like I'm not preparing for the future, but I'm not having it harpooned. It feels like a harpoon. It's like, oh, it's Wednesday. I don't have any harpoons today. I think the only... Oh my gosh, I have dojo tonight. Shit, thank you, Antonio. I have dojo tonight. So it's like until 7 o'clock, I'm not really off the hook. I know that I can't go lost in an activity if I'm going to chance doing something that I might get lost in, I'm going to have to make sure I have some sort of alarm or some sort of warning that's going to pull me out of that activity at 6:30. That bothers me a lot. I love dojo. I love going to dojo. Once I'm in dojo, I'm not like, oh, this sucks. It's never that. It's always the 2 or 3 hours beforehand where it's like, what can I do? The answer is nothing. You got a fucking harpoon in you, dude. What's the harpoon? 7 p.m. I have to be here. I don't think most people find that concerning at all. I think James True is one of the minorities that finds that hard. But I know what flow state feels like. And flow state means you don't have any limitations on what's going to happen in 5 hours or what's going to happen in 6 hours. You're simply free to go. You're free to go about living your life in that moment and doing those things. That's why I really like the spontaneous nature. If someone, no one called me yesterday, or we were like going to set up an appointment, it's like I want to go right now. I don't want to say let's have an appointment in 3 hours from now. I don't want to ruin that. Let's do it now. Let's do it now, and then let's go do something else. I fucking love that. I've noticed that my soulmate is there. Not saying it's for everybody, but for me, that really works. My wife makes the plans, and I keep us safe and on track. There you go, Daniel. You deliver the plans that she makes. Guys, I get jealous all the time in relationships if it makes you feel better, okay? So I'm not trying to say that I've got it all figured out. I think relationships are beautiful. I love watching couples. I love families. Oh, like shit. It's amazing. Unless they're treating each other like shit, then it kind of sucks. Oh, well, thank you, Noam. This shows just how much James values the stuff happening on Dojo with Radio, that he's willing to carve out that space and deal with that vitriol. Thank you. It's true. I love what we're doing on Dojo with Radio. I freaking love it. Yeah. And in Dojo. So if you guys are new to Dojo, you can join Dojo today. Come to JTrue or Patreon. Or if you'd like a free invite, someone in Dojo can invite you. You could even put in the comments, I bet, if you don't mind sharing your email. I bet if you put in the comments, hey, will someone please invite me to Dojo, and put your email in there, someone in Dojo will probably send you a link to that if you wanted to try that out. So thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming back to this channel. Friday, I guess we'll stream on this channel. And we'll see what happens. Well, actually, I guess we'll see if they say that I was inappropriate during this time. Thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you for the vitriol, Andrew. Appreciate your time on the mat. And I want you guys to have a great, wonderful day. And yeah, I'm going to put out a link for Dojo so people can know what to do there. And we'll see you guys next time. Much love to you too, Tides of Truth. And let's go for flow. Yes, Graham. I really detest appointments. I really detest appointments for the same reasons, Graham. And I think those appointments are... What if I was to tell you that all the holidays and all the appointments that we have are there to subdue the human soul from finding itself? I'm talking subconsciously that the reason why your neighbors are always having appointments is because they know it puts a tether. It's a Gulliver. Remember the giant Gulliver? And he had all those ropes on him? It makes us feel better. It's a comfort movement. Love you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for being here. And we'll see you Friday, if not before. Much love. Even to Andrew. Much love. Before you make competition, thanks for... Yes. Thank you all.